Hi, good morning. My name is Carl Worster. I'm with the U.S. Agency for International Development, which is part of the State Department. I got 10 minutes now. And I'm presenting this on behalf of my colleagues from the U.S. Embassy in Kathmandu, which includes the State Department, Department of Justice, Department of Defense, and U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. Okay. Um, the U.S. government has been bilaterally engaged with Nepal for 70 years. A lot of this has had a lot of successes, many of them focusing on conservation in and around Nepal, specifically around community-based biodiversity conservation. Um, Previously, it's been focused on large species like rhinos and tigers, high-profile species, but in recent years, we've begun to focus more on pangolins and red pandas and other small mammals to look at a broader range of conservation areas. As many of you know, Nepal is both a source country and a transit country for wildlife parts and trafficking. It's a source country because of what I mentioned with rhinos and tigers, hot commodities in the wildlife trade, but also it's a transit country because you have vast borders that are very, very porous and poor law enforcement. As you can see in the bottom photo, that's the border the northern border along China, almost impossible to enforce from a law enforcement perspective, vast and incredibly porous and rugged. Why is the U.S. government committed to stopping wildlife trafficking in Nepal? We have a lot of priorities when you look at development and diplomacy in Nepal, particularly its juxtaposition between China and India. But wildlife trafficking cuts across a number of different priority areas for us, particularly between conservation of nature, sustainable development, and national security. But it's not just national security in Nepal, it's related to regional security in Southeast Asia, but then also international security that impacts the U.S. As a whole. What we're doing about it is as the U.S. government, in 2014, President Obama issued a national strategy for combating wildlife trafficking. Since then, there's been a couple of, um, of executive orders issued both by President Obama and most recently in February by President Trump that have emphasized the government's support for coordinating efforts within the government to combat wildlife trafficking. In Nepal, we've developed a strategy that's really looked at focusing on helping the government of Nepal stop poaching, stopping trafficking, stopping wildlife crime in Nepal. Is focused around three broad areas. The first is community engagement, where USAID is heavily involved, working with community patrol groups, doing ecotourism, then working with groups also to turn in weapons, turn in snares, and eliminate poaching. And this has been incredibly successful as Nepal's celebrated 4 years of zero poaching of rhinos for the past 4 years. Unfortunately, this last April, one rhino was poached inside Chitwan National Park, but it's still, I think, a tremendous success going forward. Additionally, there's a lot of work that we do in law enforcement, particularly with the Department of Defense, Department of Justice, and State Department. It's working with the Nepal Army, who actually patrol inside national parks. It's working with scientists to do camera trapping. It's also working with local labs to do forensic or to build their capacity for forensic and genetic research. Finally, we work with the judiciary, both through the Department of Justice and Department of State and USAID, to work with prosecutors and judges to eventually better adjudicate cases. Finally, I just want to show a quick video of the wildlife burn we recently supported in Chitwan National Park. Nepal had stockpiled 20 years of wildlife parts, over 4,000 parts, including tiger skins and rhino horns. And I can talk to people more afterwards about the methods or what we used to ensure that it was done properly, if we want to get into that. But here's a quick video on the burn, hopefully. So that's just a highlights some of what happened there. It really highlighted the coordination between the government of Nepal, both the military, the Department of National Parks and Wildlife Conservation, and the different USG entities to get to a common goal of having a high quality destruction of the wildlife parts in Nepal. So thank you very much. This was a team effort with all of my NBC colleagues, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks.